Welcome back, Fantasy Pros. NFL draft season never sleeps here on the channel, and neither do I, because now we're breaking down the AFC South, part 6 of our team needs series, going division by division, breaking down all the team needs ahead of the 2025 NFL draft. But before I get to my list of team needs, you want a chance to win a signed DeAndre Swift Bears jersey for free, courtesy of our friends at pristineauction.com. All you have to do is subscribe to the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel right now, drop a comment below on any Fantasy Pros Dynasty podcast video, and that's it. Announcing a winner right here on the podcast. So make sure to turn on those notifications so you can know when new videos are up and to claim your prize. Let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into the need for the AFC South teams. Open things up with the Tennessee Titans. Will Levis is not the long-term answer at quarterback for Tennessee. Therefore, the Titans are back in the quarterback market. It's an area they're expected to address with the first pick overall in the NFL draft, with the most likely outcome being Miami quarterback Cam Ward as the 101. Keep in mind that during free agency, the Titans elected not to bring back Mason Rudolph, who ended up signing with the Steelers, and they opted for Brandon Allen and Tim Boyle instead. Clearly, they have to get a rookie quarterback, and that guy is going to be most likely Cam Ward. Head coach Brian Callahan had blatantly stated at the start of the offseason that they needed to add another offensive tackle and improve the right guard spot. Kevin Zeitler signed with the Titans in free agency to improve the guard spot on a one-year deal. They also signed Dan Moore, who started at left tackle for Pittsburgh over the last 4 years, to a lucrative 4-year, $82 million contract. With Moore at left tackle, they can shift last year's first-round pick, J.C. Latham, back to right tackle. Calvin Ridley is the only notable remaining wide receiver left under contract on the roster. Van Jefferson was signed to a one-year deal. Nick Westbrook-Akine departed in free agency to the Miami Dolphins. The Titans posted the 4th worst PFF pass rush grade last year, and Harold Landry is now with the Patriots after he led the team in sacks in 2024. New GM Mike Borgonzi has spoken at length about addressing both the offensive line and defensive line in offseason pressers. After quarterback, the Titans' second shortest odds at first position to draft are at defensive line and edge. The Titans also need to address the traditional off-the-ball linebacker position and cornerback position after the loss of Kenneth Murray and Chidobe Awuzie. Linebacker Cody Barton signed with the Titans as a replacement, but Awuzie is projected to be replaced by 2024 5th-round pick Jarvis Brownlee Jr. Unfortunately for the Titans, they don't have a 3rd-round pick this year after the L'Jarius Sneed trade last season. They also have 2 4th-round picks. Presuming they go quarterback in round 1, some of the player options they should consider at positions of need on day 2 include edge rusher from UCLA, Olufemi Oladejo, Missouri wide receiver Luther Burden, Texas wide receiver Isaiah Bond, and Washington State wide receiver Kyle Williams. Interesting about Kyle Williams, he actually played under the current Titans offensive coordinator Nick Holz at UNLV, and he also played with Cam Ward at Washington State in 2023. I also think tight end might be another low-key position of need. I do like the combination of Chig Okonkwo and Josh Wiley more than most, although Okonkwo is in the last year of his rookie contract. He finished the season strong, his last 3 games played. He could be a sneaky fantasy tight end without much receiving competition elsewhere on the roster. Jacksonville Jaguars. The new Jags GM, James Gladstone, noted during his NFL Combine press conference that he wants to prioritize the offensive and defensive fronts, in addition to point scorers, as their top targets. He also mentioned that addressing the interior of the offensive line is important to protect Trevor Lawrence, and that the running back class is very deep. Look, Travis Etienne is in the final year of his deal. Tank Bigsby had his moments last season, but fizzled out down the stretch. Don't be shocked to see a rookie running back join this backfield. Kansas State's DJ Giddens, Oregon's Jordan James, or Virginia Tech's Michelle Tootin could be rookie running backs they look to draft. Now, the Jaguars did make some improvements already to the interior of their offensive line, without the guard Patrick Bakari, along with center Robin Hazy, who will reunite with Liam Cohn from their time spent together in Tampa Bay. But despite having quality edge rushers between Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen, I still feel the Jaguars lack interior defensive push. Cohen said earlier this offseason regarding the 5th overall pick, per the Coach Speak Index, we want to play physical defense, we want to play a physical brand of football, we want to play good defense, we want to be fundamentally sound on special teams, but we better go light that scoreboard up on offense. Given that Michigan's defensive tackle, Mason Graham, should be available at 5th overall, he makes a ton of sense for the Jaguars to select as a perfect fit and best player available proposition. However, they could go in another route with Georgia linebacker Jalen Walker if they believe he is the best defender available. The Jags are heavy favorites to draft defensive line/edge with their first pick in the draft, followed by O-line which I don't necessarily agree with. Jacksonville's secondary was also terrible last year, allowing the most passing yards in the NFL. The team needs to revamp their entire secondary under a new defensive coordinator. Tyson Campbell is serviceable, but another reliable CB2 across from him is much needed. Ronald Darby signed with the Texans after his release. The Jaguars added Cowboys slot cornerback Jordan Lewis in free agency. They seem to have a lot of slot cornerbacks, though, on the roster between Lewis and Jerry and Jones, which suggests they will still look hard at a perimeter cornerback in this year's draft. That along with safety. Andrew Cisco is gone, and Darnell Savage is frankly just not good. PFF's 5th lowest graded safety in 2024. Texas safety Andrew Makubu could be a nice option on day 2. Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram were both in the final years of their contracts, end up being salary cap casualties under the new regime. During free agency, the Jaguars signed De'Ami Brown at wide receiver. They also added 2 more tight ends, Hunter Long and Johnny Munt. Long is kind of interesting because he has a connection to the Jags' new GM from their time spent together with the Rams. Somebody just keep tabs on in some of these deep dynasty leagues. But with Brendan Strange returning, they probably are all set at tight end. Wide receiver, though, lacks established depth behind Brian Thomas Jr., Gabe Davis, Parker Washington, etc. Maybe the new regime likes these guys, or maybe they're ready to move on. They sure moved on from Ingram and Kirk very quickly, so any incumbent not named BTJ has no guarantees. Given how active Gladstone was in Jacksonville's free agency period by turning over the roster, I expect the unexpected from Jacksonville in this year's draft. They have 6 picks in the first 4 rounds, featuring 2 in third round. Don't rule out Georgia linebacker Jalen Walker at 5th overall, 9-1 odds for a linebacker to be their first draft selection, or even as crazy as it sounds, Boise State running back Ashton Jeanty. Current running back coach for the Jaguars, Chad Morton, was the running back coach for Seattle when they drafted fellow Mountain West running back Rashad Penny in the first round back in 2018. 40-1 odds for the Jaguars to select Jeanty. Let's have some fun, guys. But before we get to the next 2 teams and have even more fun, we got to talk about the Fantasy Pros Dynasty Rookie Draft Simulator. Our draft simulator lets you complete a mock in just minutes with no waiting between picks. Customize your league settings to match your league's exact format. Premium subscribers can test trade scenarios by mocking with their traded draft picks. Prepare for rookie drafts and dynasty startup drafts all in one place. Use the Dynasty Rookie Draft Simulator today to dominate your rookie draft at fantasypros.com/simulator. Now, back to the show. Bringing us back with the Indianapolis Colts. As noted by the Athletics' James Boyd, new Indianapolis defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo puts a lot of pressure on the back end of his defense. Therefore, a center field safety is a must-have requirement for this defense. Cameron Bynum was the ideal addition to the safety room for the Vikings, along with cornerback Javarius Ward, who's also another great addition at the cornerback spot. But it remains to be seen whether Nick Cross at safety is in the team's long-term plans entering the last year of his contract. Another safety might be added to the draft, so don't be surprised they pull the trigger early with somebody like Malachi Starks from Georgia. Even so, with the back end on defense mostly improved through veterans, the Colts have to shift gears towards offense in the draft. What might help is actually drafting a threat at the tight end position. Please, Shane Steichen, enough with the 4-man tight end rotations. As I referenced in my AFC South forecast written earlier this offseason, Colts GM Chris Ballard wants a massive upgrade at tight end. They're going to add a receiving threat, and they haven't done it so far through free agency, so all that leaves is the draft or potentially a trade. It doesn't take his genius to figure out if they want to trade for somebody. Could be Dallas Goedert, who has previous ties to Shane Steichen from their time spent in Philly. The interior of the offensive line also needs work, given that center Ryan Kelly and Will Fries are both gone. The 2 projected starting tackles will also be free agents in 2026. Alabama's Tyler Booker would be an ideal fit for the interior, along with Oregon's Josh Connerly. Offensive line and tight end headline the Colts' primary needs, and that aligns exactly with what they're favored to do in the betting markets. Safety is the distant third option. Every mock draft has either Michigan's Colston Loveland or Penn State's Tyler Warren pegged to the Colts. It would be shocking if they don't go in that direction, should either of them be on the board when they make their selection. LSU's Mason Taylor could be an interesting option in round 2. On the D-line, they lost Raekwon Davis and defensive end Deo Odejimbo, while adding next to nothing in free agency other than defensive tackle Neville Gallimore. It's a very similar looking unit to last year's, although Odengbo is a big loss, given he led the Colts in defensive snaps. Samson Ibukam is coming off a torn Achilles. Indianapolis finished 26th in sacks and 22nd in pressure rate last year. If the Colts wanted to make a splash trade, they could try and attempt to trade for Trey Hendrickson from the Bengals, given that former Bengals DC is in the same position now for the Colts. To close out with the Houston Texans. Hot take, the Texans still need to improve their offensive line. So far, they've approached this retooling with an addition by subtraction mindset throughout the offseason. Shaq Mason was released. Larry Tunsil was traded to the Commanders. Kenyon Green was traded to the Eagles. Houston has to find a way to get the best 5 out there in their best spots to succeed. That's where the Texans' new offensive coaching staff, along with new personnel, will hopefully come into play. Left guard Laken Tomlinson signed with the Texans in their first direct move in free agency to boost the offensive line. He wasn't great last year in Seattle, but he has some rapport with D'Amico Ryans from their time overlap in San Francisco. They also added Zach Thomas on day 3 of free agency. He played for the Patriots and Texans in 2024. He started the year in New England at left guard before switching over to left tackle. They traded for former Vikings guard Ed Ingram. Ingram was benched last year in Minnesota. They also made a slightly bigger move across the offensive line by signing tackle Cam Robinson, who played for Minnesota and Jacksonville last season. They also signed tackle Trent Brown. But even after all these moves, they are still listed at nearly minus 200 to draft an offensive lineman with their first draft pick by the sportsbooks. Because most of these moves are temporary band-aid fixes. They still very much need, long-term foundational pieces across the offensive line. Protect CJ Stroud at all costs. Texas, Kelvin Banks would be a home run pick late in round 1. The offensive tackle entered the year with potential to be a top 5 draft pick, but he has seen his draft stock fall. Other offensive line prospects that you should consider include Alabama's Tyler Booker, Oregon's Josh Connolly, North Dakota State's Gray Zabel, and Purdue's Marcus Bowe. Houston also has major question marks behind Nico Collins at wide receiver. Tank Dell is injured. Stephon Diggs is a Patriot. They added Christian Kirk for next to nothing from the Jaguars, with Dell likely on the shelf for the most of the season. But Kirk is still just on a 1-year deal. Potential wide receiver draft targets include Iowa State's Jalen Noel, Jaden Higgins, Ohio State's Emeka Egbuka, Illinois' Pat Bryant, TCU's Jack Besh, Oregon's Tez Johnson, Stanford wide receiver Elke Amar, and Washington State's Kyle Williams. Joe Mixon is going to turn 29 in July. He signed a 3-year, $27 million contract extension that included $13 million guaranteed after he was traded for last offseason. However, I'm a little hesitant to be bullish on Mixon again. Even though I liked him because of his situation and projected workload last season. We're going to see some changes in the Texans offense in 2025, which could negatively influence Mixon's fantasy output. He also has an out at the end of his year, so he can be cut for $2 million compared to his $10.5 million salary. Running back 2 Dameon Pierce may get more offseason hype entering the final year of his rookie contract. However, I'll wait to see this first because the current coaching staff is fond of Mixon and not Pierce. More likely he gets traded than featured in this offense in 2025. Running back is a position that I think they're going to need to address in the draft, given the depth of the class. Perhaps a sleeper team to draft somebody like Texas running back Jaden Blue, SMU running back Brashard Smith, USC running back Woody Marks, Iowa running back Caleb Johnson, Virginia Tech running back Bashal Tutin, or Ohio State running back Travion Henderson. Defensively, I think they're pretty set. I'd say interior defensive line is probably the biggest area they could upgrade to, just based on the current personnel. Texas's Alfred Collins or Toledo's Darius Alexander would be good fits at defensive tackle. As a wrap on the team needs for the AFC South, Tennessee Titans, quarterback, wide receiver, edge, and cornerback. Jacksonville Jaguars, defensive tackle, cornerback, safety, wide receiver, running back, and offensive tackle. Indianapolis Colts, tight end, offensive line, edge, defensive tackle, and safety. Houston Texans, offensive line, wide receiver, running back, and defensive tackle. Those are the top team needs for the AFC South. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like, subscribe, share with all your friends, and let me know, do you agree or disagree with my list of team needs for these teams in the AFC South? And also, let me know in the comments, what does your favorite team have to do to get back into contention? Please, I want to know. But before you do, make sure to go check out the Fantasy Pros Dynasty Rookie Draft Simulator, where you can run a full rookie mock draft, just minutes, no waiting between picks. Premium users can even test trades using the Trade Analyzer tool, using actual draft capital as well. Customize your league settings, crush your rookie or startup draft prep now. fantasypros.com/simulator. Thanks for tuning in.